He's stared down former UFC champions. He's outboxed world title holders, and he's knocked out basketball stars. But come November 26th, Jake Paul will have his toughest test yet when he faces Mike Tyson in an exhibition match. Sure, it's an exhibition, but we all know these rules mean nothing. It's gonna be a slugfest between two heavy hitters. And when you think about how much money is riding on this fight, do you really expect them to pull any punches? No, we didn't think so. And that's why we're counting down 5 reasons why Tyson will knock out Jake Paul. So without further ado, let's get into it. Number 5. The aura of the baddest man on the planet. As they say, sometimes it's not what you bring to the table, it's what the table brings to you. If you're in a relationship with someone who constantly belittles you, questions your self-worth, and makes you feel like you're always on edge, you're in a toxic relationship. And there is no better description for the kind of relationship Jake Paul will have with Mike Tyson at Madison Square Garden. You see, even though this is technically an exhibition match, Jake Paul will be stepping into the ring with the most intimidating force the heavyweight division has ever known. Iron Mike doesn't need to be introduced. He needs no introduction. We've all heard the stories of how he used to make fighters quit before the first bell even rang because he looked like he wanted it more than they did. And if you're thinking that won't affect Jake Paul, well, you don't know Jake Paul. He's the guy who dances in the face of danger. The guy who got into a massive brawl with a fellow YouTuber despite having 20 times the reach advantage over him. Paul is a fighter who gets hyped up by trash talk and thrives on proving people wrong. In other words, he'll be right in his element. No? For a puncher's chance. On paper, Jake Paul's boxing record looks pretty good. 6 wins, 0 losses, but that doesn't tell the whole story. Of those 6 fights, only 1 went past the 4th round. That's right. 4 of his fights ended in the 1st round and 1 in the 2nd. And that's because Jake Paul is a knockout artist himself. He's got devastating power in both hands, and he's not afraid to use it. In fact, you could argue that Paul is an even bigger puncher than Mike Tyson. Especially considering that Tyson's prime came during the 80s and 90s when fighters rarely knocked each other out. With that being said, there's a reason why Tyson is regarded as one of the most feared punchers in history. Because when he connects clean, he puts people to sleep. After all, he has 44 knockouts under his belt. 44. Against all the naysayers, Paul will surely have a puncher's chance against Tyson. But he's going to need more than that if he wants to pull off the upset? No. 3. Unmatched ring IQ. One thing you can never accuse Mike Tyson of is lacking ring IQ. In fact, when you look at how young he was when he started fighting, it's hard not to be impressed by how smart he was inside the ring. By the age of 13, he was already winning amateur fights as a heavyweight. And by 20, he was the youngest heavyweight champion in history. It wasn't just his power that made him so dominant. It was also his technique and his timing. Mike knew how to throw a punch. He knew how to set it up, and he knew how to time it perfectly. That's why he was so successful. And if you think that Jake Paul, with all his trash talking, has what it takes to match Mike Tyson's ring IQ, well, you're delusional. Sorry, but this one's going to Tyson, no. 2. The master of mind games. Whether you love him or hate him, one thing you have to admit about Jake Paul is that he's got some serious balls. We mean, the guy literally dances in the face of danger. You know, that video of him dancing in front of a charging bison? Yeah, that takes some serious But when it comes to the mind game aspect of boxing, Jake Paul is in for a world of hurt. See, Iron Mike was a master at getting inside his opponents' heads long before the first bell even rang. He knew how to make them doubt themselves. He knew how to make them afraid. And if you think Jake Paul is going to be able to handle that, well, you're kidding yourselves. After all, this is the same guy who had to take a break from his fight with Tyron Woodley because he kept taunting him and distracting him. No. 1. All the intangibles. They say that boxing is 90% mental and that S never been more true than in this fight. C. Jake Paul has been talking about this fight for months now. He's been calling out Mike Tyson left and right and trash-talking him at every opportunity. And while that's sure to get under Tyson's skin, it's not going to be enough to make him tap out. After all, Tyson has fought some of the best boxers of his generation and come out on top. He's been in the ring with the likes of Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, and Frank Bruno, and he didn't let the pressure get to him then. So why would he let it get to him now? It's just an exhibition match after all, so there's no real pressure. That being said, Jake Paul is the one who has something to prove here. He's the one who's trying to make a name for himself in the boxing world. He needs this fight more than Tyson does, and that's something that Iron Mike is going to be well aware of. So if you think that Jake Paul is going to be able to handle all the intangibles that come with fighting someone like Mike Tyson, well, you're dreaming. At the end of the day, this is going to be a tough fight for Jake Paul, even if it is an exhibition. Mike Tyson is a legend of the sport, and he is not going to take it easy on Paul, even in an exhibition. And if you think Paul is going to be able to handle that, well, you're out of luck. Tyson is a master at getting inside his opponent's heads, and he's not going to let Paul off the hook. Paul needs to be prepared for the fight of his life if he wants to come out on top. But honestly, we don't think he is. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.